Hi, this is Mark Tibb speaking. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
So the war of words, the drama, the hype continues between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury ahead of what most people are hoping will be back-to-back fights this year of 2021, with the first fight happening between April-May time and the rematch around the October-November time. Of course, there are certain things to be ironed out before they get there, of course, most notably Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, the mediation. But according to Tyson Fury, Wilder doesn't have a leg to stand on. So again, we have to wait for a resolution of that one. And of course, you've got the Alexander Usyk situation as to determine whether or not Fury Joshua will be for undisputed. Okay, but either way, we are led to believe as well that potentially they could actually be sending at least drafts of the contract to each other this week. So a step in the right direction. And the way that these guys are now talking about each other, this will tell us first and foremost they both want the fight, and second of all, it could well be a lot closer than what we currently think that it is. Anyway, we'll get into the statements of both fighters. I shall react to both their statements, of course, and of course I'll do a very brief side-by-side comparison between them as well, so make sure you are subscribed to it. Now, Anthony Joshua, he kicked it all off and he said this about Tyson Fury: "I want to take his head off his shoulders when the fight happens." Tyson Fury responds with, "I've never seen him take anybody's head off his shoulders in all his fights, so it's probably just another lie. We'll see if he's got the guts to try it when I'm in front of him." I don't think Joshua's as good as people crack him up to be, or at least he doesn't believe he is in his own self. He's got a confidence issue. He's coming off two shaky performances, momentum's with me, and I'll take him out very early. Now, as I said, a lot of this is going to be hype. Okay, I don't think that Tyson Fury truly believes that he's going to have an easy night of it. If he does, he could be in for a very, very rude awakening. And I'll explain more as the video goes along. But for me, I see this fight as a 50-50 fight. And I'll explain why. And I know some people won't like to hear that right now. If you're a huge Anthony Joshua fan and you dislike Tyson Fury, you're not going to like that statement. You're not going to like it if you are an extreme Tyson Fury fan and you don't like Joshua. But trust me, come fight night, you are going to be very, very nervous. This fight has the potential to be an absolute barn burner. It really does. It also has the potential to be an absolute stinker as well. But again, this will be dependent on what tactics both of these guys will be coming into the fight with. Now, as far as Tyson Fury saying that Anthony Joshua, he's got confidence issues and he's looked shaky in his last couple of fights. Well, everybody says that about Anthony Joshua. It's a premeditated way. Most of Anthony Joshua's potential opponents and ones that he will be fighting all say they don't really want to, that Anthony Joshua, he doesn't really want to fight me. He seems very nervous. He's not mentally strong. They do all of this. But yet you've never seen anything that would suggest that he is nervous. Now, people will look to the Andy Ruiz Jr. first fight where, of course, he lost. Then, of course, they look to the rematch. Anthony Joshua outboxed Andy Ruiz Jr. He kept on the outside, stuck behind his jab, threw the right hand once in a while, didn't get too close and personal with him. A lot of people say, well, that's him being nervous. Well, what is it that Anthony Joshua done against Andy Ruiz Jr. that you haven't seen Tyson Fury do on quite a few occasions? That you haven't seen Muhammad Ali do on quite a few occasions? So why is it that they put on a masterful boxing display, but Joshua is running and scared? It's narrative driven. That's all it is. Okay. Against Kubrat Pulev, well, Anthony Joshua showed aggression and boxing. He showed an all-round game. An all-round game. Now, some people, again, already had a premeditated thought and reaction as to what they were going to say about Anthony Joshua's performance against Kubrat Pulev before the first bell even rang. People already had it in their minds. They were going to say he didn't quite look all there. He looked a little bit shaky at times. He looks like there's a hangover from the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, yada, yada, yada. Some people want to say it as a way to say, listen, I'm seeing things that maybe you don't see. People already had that in their mind. But if Joshua was really scared and nervous, then how did he manage to get in on the inside of Kubrat Pulev on quite a few occasions throwing uppercuts? You have to get up close and personal to land an uppercut. And he'd done it numerous times and ultimately knocked out Kubrat Pulev. But, as I said, some people would have already had this premeditated. That's what they're going to say about Joshua, even if he knocked him out in the first couple of rounds. That's what they were going to say. Okay, with Tyson Fury, does he have the momentum because of his last fight against Deontay Wilder in an absolute masterclass? That was a aggressive boxing style from Tyson Fury. Very, very one-sided, and ultimately beat Deontay Wilder into submission. That's exactly what happened. Okay, so yes, you could say that to the eye, you could say that Tyson Fury's performance over Wilder was a better fight. It was a more dominant fight. But at the same time, Joshua was never really in trouble against Andy Ruiz Jr. in a rematch and was never really in trouble against Kubrat Pulev. We could say that too. But momentum, there's a lot more to momentum. It's not everything is based on your last fight. It's based on a lot of things. We could look at their last few fights. Sure, Joshua, he's taken a loss, that's for sure. Then bounced back twice with back-to-back wins. The fight before Tyson Fury dominated and destroyed Deontay Wilder, he went life and death with Otto Wallin. Granted, Otto Wallin is southpaw. Some people don't get on too well with southpaws. Maybe Fury doesn't get on too well with southpaws. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. And the cut was a genuine cut. It come from a punch. Some people say that had the fight happened anywhere else and not on a top-ranked show, the referee, the medical team, would have stopped the fight. And Otto Wallin would have got his hand raised. So there's lots of different ways of looking at it. So Tyson Fury, as much as he's done fantastic against Deontay Wilder, and what we've seen in the fights that he has had to raise his game twice against Wilder and, of course, against Klitschko and, of course, with Derek Chisora back in the day as well, he always rises to the occasion. We can certainly say that. Maybe he overlooked Wallin. Okay, maybe. Okay, we don't know. But on fight night, Fury's not going to fight Joshua the way he fought Wilder. Joshua and Wilder are two totally different fighters. Totally different. There is no comparison between the two. They are chalk and cheese in the boxing ring. Wilder, devastating right hand, for sure. Wilder done this, Fury done the most simplest of things to negate that right hand. Fury knew that Wilder, he loses every single round that he ever has. He always does that. Outside of the first Bermane-Stavern fight, he always loses each and every round is what he does. And then he pulls out the big punch and gets a knockout win. Fury knew, take away that right hand, you ain't beating me. On my worst day, you ain't beating me. If you couldn't beat me when I was at 50% massed in the first fight, what chance have you got now? And he done the most simple things. Stuck out his left arm, so his glove was pointed towards Deontay Wilder's right shoulder. So if Wilder did try and throw the right hand, he ain't going to get very far with it, is he? It was a very, very smart move. Tyson Fury shows that he's got the ring IQ of an absolute genius. He really does. So him taking away that right hand, well, sure, you can take away Joshua's right hand, but Joshua's got a left hand, something Wilder doesn't have. A heavy-handed left hand. Joshua can knock out people with that left hand as well. So he's going to have to do it with both of his shoulders. Joshua, his ring IQ is far superior to Deontay Wilder. His foot movement is far superior to Deontay Wilder. Wilder takes big strides in and out. He leaps in and out like a kangaroo, whatever it may be, okay? That's what he does, like a meerkat. That's how he does it. He fights scared. He takes a beating every fight that he has. Joshua doesn't. Joshua pretty much wins every round that he fights. His footwork is so much better. His ring IQ is so much better. And again, we'll talk about the right hand. Yes, Wilder's right hand is absolutely devastating. Joshua's right hand ain't no fairy punch, is it? He's got knockout power with that right hand as well. Maybe not as one punch brutal as Wilder, but still enough. Still enough where he can knock you out with one punch. But he can do it with a left as well. And he can fight on the inside. Something that Wilder can't do. Joshua will throw uppercuts. So anybody who thinks that Fury adopting that style against Anthony Joshua, the way that they done Wilder, in my opinion, that ain't going to work. If he does adopt that and he does get Joshua out there using those tactics, I'm going to be very, very surprised and very, very impressed. Okay? But as I said before, and I'll keep on saying it, I don't care who wins this fight. I love both of these guys. Happy for the winner, devastated for the loser. That's how it's going to be for me. But Joshua has, when it comes to Tyson Fury, he has some advantages over Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has advantages over Anthony Joshua, and that's what makes it a very, very intriguing fight. And most importantly, there's pride on the line with this one. Huge pride. It's the Battle of Britain, isn't it? Potentially undisputed. Whoever wins this fight is the legitimate number one. Right now, everything's hearsay. Some people say Joshua's number one because he owns more belts. Some people say Fury's number one because he's still undefeated, because he's won every belt the heavyweight division has to offer, and yada, yada, yada. The only way to truly find out, put them both in the ring. So there's a lot of pride at stake in this one. That's going to come into it. It really is. And when Fury, he talks about the confidence with Anthony Joshua, as I said, everybody talks about the confidence of Anthony Joshua. All fighters previously, Josie Parker was saying that Anthony Joshua is weak-minded and all this kind of stuff. I don't know why people go down that route. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. And again, for Tyson Fury to say that he's never taken anybody's head off, well, literally, no, of course not. Nobody has. But he's put out cold quite a few people, Anthony Joshua. In fact, Anthony Joshua has stopped every fighter that he's faced, with the exception of Andy Ruiz Jr. and Joseph Parker. Tyson Fury's right hand, when he plants his feet, is pretty damn heavy too. Okay, so again, don't be thinking that because Tyson Fury doesn't have one-punch knockout artist that he doesn't hit hard. He does. And he can switch southpaw. So again, when we look at the certain advantages over each other, Fury, he's got the height and reach over Anthony Joshua. It's not massive, but still, even 1 inch advantage in boxing is like a yard. Okay, so Fury certainly has those advantages. Fury has better footwork than Anthony Joshua. Fury can switch from southpaw to orthodox on a dime. He can just do it fluidly. And anybody who's ever tried to do that, you'll know how difficult that is. But Fury does it with finesse. Joshua, I've never seen him fight southpaw yet. I'm not saying that he can't, I'm saying that he just doesn't. Joshua has power advantage, strength advantage over Tyson Fury. If you're a huge Tyson Fury fan, you'll disagree with that because you'll think Tyson Fury is better than everybody in every which way, shape or form. But in truth, Joshua is stronger than Tyson Fury. Why? Because he's got stronger legs. That's why. If with the way that Tyson Fury was manhandling Wilder, throwing him around, leaning all over him, he won't be able to do that with Joshua. Maybe in the later rounds he could, but to start off with, no, not so much. Not so much at all. Joshua punches harder with both hands than Tyson Fury. But Tyson Fury does still punch very hard. Let's not think that Tyson Fury can't knock out Joshua. He can. He certainly can. But these are the advantages. I think speed is just edged with Tyson Fury. And I'm talking footwork here. I'm talking movement here with the speed. Hand speed, Joshua's hands are faster than Fury's. He's a better counterpuncher than Tyson Fury. So there are certain advantages that either one of these guys have. If you to look at the resumes, you could say that Tyson Fury's best wins are a Derek Chisora, of course, twice, and certainly the first time when Derek Chisora was undefeated, Vladimir Klitschko, and of course Deontay Wilder. Very impressive. Again, let's not forget, Fury didn't have exactly an extensive amateur career. He wasn't an Olympian or anything like that, and he's been learning on the job also. In fact, his earlier days, you'll say he's totally a different fighter now than what he was once before. He even punched himself in the face in one of his fights. But Anthony Joshua is also improving. He's learning new things. He's having to learn the job as well. Again, Joshua's amateur career, not that extensive. Was it 46 amateur fights? 46. That's not many at all. It really isn't many at all. But both these guys do have advantages over each other. And the fight does have the potential to be an absolute barnstormer. It also has the potential to flop. Both of these guys can knock out each other. Both of these guys can beat the other one on points. We've seen that if Joshua wants to stay on the outside and box and move, he can do that. Fury, we know he can do that. Fury is a better boxer than Anthony Joshua. Fighting on the inside, Joshua has the advantage over Tyson Fury as well. Yes, Fury, he does throw uppercuts and that. You've never seen him knock out somebody with an uppercut, have you? You've never seen him even rattle anybody with an uppercut. You've seen him land a couple, but Joshua does do that. advantages. Both of these guys have advantages. But for me, it's a 50-50 fight. Like I said, I know people won't be happy with that, but it truly is, in my opinion. But either way, we'll have to wait and see. For me, a lot of this is just talk. It's just a way of hyping the fight. Every time Anthony Joshua fights, Tyson Fury is picking the other guy to win. Whenever Tyson Fury says something, Anthony Joshua will bite back. And more so lately, it's all hype. Go back to when Anthony Joshua said a couple of weeks ago that he'd like to manage Tyson Fury because he has the potential to be a superstar. Even though he already is a superstar, he's saying these things for the hype. He's saying these things to wind up Fury and his fan base. People are biting. Some of the things that Tyson Fury says about Joshua, it's just hyping to get Joshua to bite, to get some of his fans to bite. That's my thoughts on it all. Of course, you drop me yours. Click a thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.